Enjoy your meeting. Just a reminder, today's meeting is being recorded.
Well, of course it's being recorded. We want everyone to be able to see the video interview. That's kind of silly. Hello, Amos. How are you today?
Hi, I'm doing well, David. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for agreeing to do this. For those of you who are watching this video interview, we're here with Amos Tenumah. And Amos is a thought leader in our industry. He's been a member for years. He's been a professional speaker. He's been a number of things and helped a number of people in our industry. And most recently, wrote a book that we want to talk a little bit about. But in an effort to give people a little bit of a feel for your background, since the day I've met you, you've been preaching about the customer experience and why that's important and why that matters. And I don't know where in the world, you must have had a horrible customer service experience somewhere in your life, because you developed this over-the-top passion for this subject. So where's that come from? And you know, tell us a little bit about your background, how it came to that.
Yeah, so, you know, David, I describe myself as a recovering technologist. You know, I started doing software development, you know, and one of the products I created was, it did voice translation, and at the time in the 90s, we were doing lots of outsourcing in India, and so my technology helped translate those interactions and roboticize them. You could argue whether or not that improved things or not, but that's what really got me into the space. So I got into the contact center and really developed a passion for it, and quickly realized, you know what, I'm not going to be successful behind a computer. I'm not going to be happy behind a computer just doing software development. And so I got my hands in the leadership side and the operational side of the world. And what I just realized is the contact center and customer experience is where technology, behavioral sciences, processes, and all of the things that I bring to the table really mesh really well. And I naturally have this evangelist in me. And so I've since then sort of taken this passion. I've had great opportunities over the course of my career, worked with and for companies like Coca-Cola and Cox and Teleflora and startups all over the world. And I've been able to kind of watch the evolution of our industry. And really that's what brought me to this point where I decided, you know, I've got something unique and something different I want to contribute. And that's how we sort of got here today where I wrote this book.
Well, again, I want to remind our viewers, you've been a speaker in the industry in a number of different venues, and I want to thank you for your contributions to CC&G over the many years, which has included hosting us as well as keynote presentations and the like. So the book is called The Curated Experience. It's been out there. It's new this year. Is that right?
Yeah. We came out in the fall and really started really publicizing it early this year.
You talk about business structures, you talk about empowering employees and its importance to all of this customer experience stuff, and data-driven technology. I think those are the three key elements in the book. But you lead off with something kind of fun, so I'd like to ask you. People always say, and we hear it a lot in CC&G venues, that, you know, the customer's always right. And you disagree. So why don't you tell us why you disagree and lead us into what the elements of the book are?
Yeah, no, I'll tell you. I think part of my motivation for writing the book is I think we do a poor job of articulating why what we do is so important. And I really wanted to contribute my voice in helping us tell that story. So this element of the customer is always right, and it's been this mantra we followed for years. Not really based on anything concrete. The reality of it is businesses exist for a reason. And so what I start the book is, and it's really explaining, why does your organization exist? Like, what's the fundamental purpose of it is? And in my research in writing the book, I got different answers. For some, it was shareholder value. And so if that's true, how can the customer be always right if you're worried about shareholder value? For some, it was employee. For some, it was the customer. And I simply argue hey, my view and what I think businesses exist to do is to improve the lives of whoever they define as customers. And that could include employees, that could include shareholders, is to everyone in a positive direction. And that involves some compromises and some trade-offs. And so I think there's 3 principles, and that's how I laid it out in the book. I talked about the structures, and there's a great story in the book where I'm working with a client, and I say to him, we sort of looked into the data. He was in the sort of the utility business, and I go, why do you care so much about the customer experience? What are your customers going to do? I mean, go back to lighting their house with firewood, or what exactly are their alternatives? Why are you in it? I was curious, and he said to me, he got a letter from a customer who happened to be his neighbor, didn't know what he did and what have you, and basically said to him he was moving his house, selling his house, and moving out of that area just to get away from his horrible service. And he began to realize that they were in their companies talking about all of the other things and sectors they wanted to get into, and they just didn't have that fundamental trust in their customers. So he said, I don't care if they have choices or not. I am going to deliver the best experiences for them. So how do you do this? And my book really centers on what's the why and what's the how. And for me, the better we get at the why, the easier the how's really become. So when I move on to, you've got the structures, you know the why you want to do this from a business perspective. The next place is the employee. I have my biases, David, and I think in the order of events, it needs to be employees first. This might be controversial. Employees first, customers second, and shareholders third. I think that's an important distinction for me, and there are organizations like Southwest Airlines that agree with that philosophy. And so I lay out a case for why is this important for the bottom line. I believe focusing on the employees first, then the customers, then the shareholders, is in the interest of the shareholders as well. And what employees are important in the contact center? I articulate in the book around supervisors, frontline supervisors. And you and I have had many of the events CCNG has put on for people like frontline supervisors. I think they are key to the entire deal. I think you can have mediocre middle managers, you can have mediocre directors, but you cannot have mediocre supervisors because they hire the frontline agents and they develop them. Without them, you cannot have success. So we delve into many areas of the employee portion of this, but I spend a great deal of time really focusing on the supervisors. And then the last and the favorite part, because it's my background, the data-driven technology. You know, I can't call an IVR today in the presence of my young son because I might use profanity. Actually, I will use profanity. And I basically argue it doesn't have to be that way. And I don't talk about technologies that are yet to come. I talk about technologies that exist today and really lay a case for why smarter, data-driven technology can really improve the customer experience. I talk about how IVRs can be better than talking to a human person. It's not true today, but the technology and the processes and the will all exist today. And I make a case for why you should do this. And then I delve really in depth into how. And then I look ahead as well, David, and I think it's important, if I'm going to write this book, look a few years ahead. And I think where we're headed is this place of heavy personalization. And what that means is I came from a time when the people I did business with were not anonymous people on 1-800 numbers. They were my neighbors or people I went to church with, and they were all of those things. And we sort of went away from that era. That era is coming back, but it's coming back through data-driven technology. And what that looks like is I force organizations to begin to think about, when David calls my organization, how can I take all this vast data David is voluntary or involuntarily shared on the internet with everyone that's publicly available? How can I utilize those things I know about you to serve you better? How can I glean all of these things to make your experience better? One shiny example is, you call in and you have to repeat, here's your address and your name and your phone number and your preferences and all of those. And these are things I already have. I can simply take your phone number, do some matching, and 80 to 85% of the time I talk about examples of how we can do that. I think the future is how do we get smarter as opposed to building what I call IVR jails. How can we build IVRs that are really designed to enhance the experience? And the standard needs to be, if it's not better than a human, don't build it. And this is something that should be in practice today. And finally, I put it all together, and really this book is for CX, customer experience and contact center practitioners. And it's a blueprint that helps you really define the why, helps you sell the why within your organization, and then gives you a rich library, bringing my years and years of experience into how exactly you can go about doing this.
Wonderful. Well, that was a great encapsulation of what you wrote and why you wrote it, so thank you. For those people who want to learn more about you, follow you, connect with you, come see you speak, give us some insights onto those connection points before we wrap up.
Absolutely. My website where I blog and I have a newsletter is amostenumah.com. I also have a popular podcast on iTunes called The Curated Experience, and obviously my book is available on Amazon as well, so it's really been a pleasure, and thank you, David, for having me on here.
Hey, we don't do it without people like you. We really appreciate the thought leadership, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the very, very near future at an upcoming CC&G event. Thanks for your time today.
Looking forward to seeing you, David. Bye now.
Bye-bye.